Both of the major leaders are in Melbourne this morning. Suburban Melbourne seats are a real focus for both campaigns at the moment. And we've got our political reporters Olivia Casely and Tom Crowley who are following those campaigns for us this morning. Olivia, we're going to go to you first. Labor is going to continue this relentless focus on housing this morning, campaigning in some of the outer suburbs of Melbourne.
Yeah, housing has become such a key policy issue this election campaign, with Labor spending the past 3 days really hammering home its policies. But when it comes to its pitch, Labor wants to open the front door of home ownership to a new generation of voters, and it wants to do this through its $10 billion plan to build 100,000 new homes and also make it easier to get into the market with just a 5% deposit. Economists, though, have questioned whether this policy could indeed actually increase house prices more generally, which is interesting considering it is being framed as a way of improving housing affordability. We have seen some polls, though, in 9 newspapers this morning suggesting that 40% of voters do indeed believe that Labor's policy is a better offering than what's the coalition has on the table. When it comes to the plans for the Labor campaign bus today, we'll be heading to the outer metropolitan suburbs of Melbourne. This is really key to Labor's chances of being re-elected. They're fending off a pretty fierce contest from the coalition, and what we're going to see over the next couple of days as we head into that Easter lull, Labor needs to cement its policies in the minds of voters and really convince them that this isn't just a performance, it's going to lead to profound change.
And Tom, to you, you're following Peter Dutton. He's also been speaking about housing all week. You have a particular background in economics. Can you just take us through the centrepiece of his pitch?
I can. So I suppose if I pick up on Liv's theme of Anthony Albanese talking about opening the door to first home buyers, Peter Dutton's really talking about what happens when you get in down the hallway and put your bags down in that house. It's focused squarely on the first 5 years of first home buyers once they have a mortgage. It's a tax deduction for mortgage interest payments for that cohort. It's also, I mean, it's clearly there a pitch, yes, to first home buyers, but also to those who already own their homes. And that's where Peter Dutton has been on more comfortable ground talking about those same critiques from economists about, well, what if all of this extra money for first home buyers pushes house prices up? He's been quite comfortable to say he wants house prices to rise steadily, wouldn't even match his shadow housing minister Michael Sukkar in saying they should be limited to the level of wages. He's quite comfortable talking also to those who see their home as a nest egg. Perhaps that's also why our tour of Melbourne has taken us very much to the outskirts of town, housing estates on the edge of places like Bacchus Marsh. That's where the coalition is selling the Australian dream to young Australians while keeping one eye on people further close to the CBD.
And Olivia, well, we've experienced this ourselves actually on our little tour through Western Australia, but security is particularly tight around the major leaders at the moment, and that's because we've had a number of scares with protesters just getting a little bit too close to comfort to Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton.
Yeah, as you say, this has become a bit of a recurring theme of the 2025 election campaign. We have seen both sides and both leaders having events ambushed by protesters. And last night was no different. The Prime Minister was in the hotel lobby where he's staying here in Melbourne when two alternative right video content creators essentially ambushed him, demanding answers on questions about immigration and housing. ABC News understands that this was deeply concerning to the Prime Minister's office. They were shocked really by the fact that he managed to get through security and come so close to the Prime Minister. And as you say, we are seeing this kind of increased interaction between protesters trying to disrupt these events. They will, both the leaders, be speaking at the ABC Leaders Debate later this evening, and there is a protest scheduled there as well.
Yeah, get your popcorn for that Leaders Debate, live and free, of course, on the ABC, hosted by the one and only David Spears. We'll be chatting to him later in the show. Hey, Tom, I just want to go back to you. There was this fairly extraordinary story out yesterday. Always happens in election campaigns. Big world events intervene. This suggestion that Russia might be looking at hosting jets in Papua, in Indonesia, pretty close to the Northern Australian coast.
That's right. And look, the details of this, I mean, by the end of the day, we had some denials coming to the Australian government from the Indonesian government. So we'll see how the facts of the story play out today. But as you say, in the context of an election campaign, the leaders' responses are perhaps put under the lens in a way that they wouldn't be in ordinary times. And Peter Dutton yesterday came out very strong, as he often does in national security moments, seeking to paint this as a sign of the government's weakness. He said that if Penny Wong and Anthony Albanese had a strong relationship with Indonesia and others in the Pacific, as they claim to, that they would have seen this coming, suggesting that if it turned out to be true, it would be a bad thing for the country. Within a couple of hours, the government had received that denial, so it remains to be seen how Peter Dutton will adapt his message this morning. But once again, it's a pattern here where the leaders respond to global events in very different ways. Anthony Albanese playing a straight bat largely yesterday. But Peter Dutton sees an uncertain global world as a chance to create a case for change, painting himself as a strong person for these times. That's the way the campaign wants to spin these events. And, you know, we are in an election, James, so spin is as much an important part of these global events as it is domestic events.
All right, Bridget, we are going to head back to you in the studio, and we'll be coming back to you throughout this special extended edition of News Breakfast.
Looking forward to it, James and Nathan. We'll talk to you soon. Well, with the cost of living firmly on the political agenda today and always, new data shows rental prices continue to rise, up 1.7% nationally over the last quarter. Tani Just joins us now from Sydney. Good morning to you, Tani. Talk us through the latest data we have, the numbers from CoreLogic.
Yeah, good morning, Bridget. That's right. Rent has gone up nationally, according to the latest CoreLogic data, and as you mentioned, by 1.7%. And when we can, that was to the last March quarter, as of the last March quarter. But when we compare that to December figures, that's jumped from 0.4%. Now, if we take a closer look at the states and territories across the country, we can see that Hobart has had the biggest jump in rent prices at 2.3%, followed by Perth, which was up by 2.2, then Brisbane 1.9, Adelaide 1.8, Canberra 1.5%, Sydney at 1.4%, Melbourne up by 0.8, and Darwin up by 0.3%. Now, experts have said that some of this, the latest increase is a seasonal increase due to university students returning back to study for the semester this year. So that's why we've seen a little bit of a jump in the last March quarter there, Bridget.
And Tani, investment properties with tenants are being resold very quickly. Talk us through this.
Yeah, so there's also been some other data released today by the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute, which found half of all investment properties are being sold within the first 2 years of tenants living in them. And this particularly affects people aged between 25 and 34 years old, who are most likely to purchase a rental property, but they're also more likely to sell them much quicker than compared to other age groups. Now, experts have said this comes down to instability with things like high interest rates at the moment, which is pushing people to sell their properties much quicker than maybe they would have liked, which then has a flow-on effect to the people that are renting them. And when we look at the research, it also shows that the average investment period for landlords is around 4 years. Now, the research also recommended more educational programs as well as financial risk assessments to help landlords stay invested. But when it comes to renters, they're really calling on both major political parties this election to prioritise them.
Tani, thanks very much.
Well, plenty more happening in news, and let's get to it now. A survey of the disability community has flagged lists dictating how NDIS funding can be spent and a proposal for all providers to be registered as major concerns. The research was done by a grassroots organisation, Every Australian Counts, which surveyed 200 people from across the country. More than half of respondents are worried both moves will limit the choice of services and supports they can receive.
South Australian Emergency Services say flooding at an outback town in the state's far northeast is the largest on record. Floodwaters affecting the township of Innamincka are receding, but further rises are expected. Yesterday, a Black Hawk helicopter delivered food and livestock fodder to residents who remain isolated.
A 4-decade-old claim in the Northern Territory will come to an end today, as Wakaya Illawarra traditional owners will be officially handed back their land near Canteen Creek, southeast of Tennant Creek today. Last year, the deed to the land was presented by Senator Malarndirri McCarthy to be signed by the Governor-General, and today will be passed back into traditional owners' hands on country.
Australian actor Cate Blanchett says she's serious about giving up acting, telling a British magazine there are other things she wants to do with her life. The 55-year-old told the Radio Times her family rolls their eyes every time she tells them she's giving up. Blanchett has won 2 Oscars as well as huge box office success for her roles in films including Lord of the Rings, Elizabeth, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Tar, and so many more.
Oh, the list is
endless.
endless.
Kate.
Well, it might be a case of the dog days are over for a Dachshund missing for more than 500 days on Kangaroo Island. This is James's favourite story. Local wildlife rescuers are revealing the missing pet is now regularly returning to their trap site. So Valerie went missing in November 2023, was spotted in March this year. Kangaroo Wildlife Rescue have set up a trap containing toys, her bed from home and hidden food. But other wildlife in the area has made it impossible to secure her safely. They're hopeful a specially built remote trigger for the trap will finally see her reunited with her owners soon.